It's interesting how both Biden and Eisenhower, in their farewell addresses, warned about threats to American democracy.
Yeah.
They both seemed really concerned about too much power being held by too few people.
Mm-hmm.
But Biden went a little further, actually calling out the super rich.
Right.
He even used the word oligarchy.
Yeah.
It's hard not to think about people like Elon Musk when you hear that.
Oh, absolutely. That's a good connection.
Yeah.
Especially because of how much influence he has over, well, a bunch of different things, technology space and
Right.
even social media now that he's bought Twitter.
Yeah.
That's what this deep dive is all about, really. Taking a closer look at that kind of power and what it might mean for all of us.
Okay.
We're going to be focusing on some articles by Seth Abramson.
Okay.
He doesn't really hold back when it comes to criticizing Elon Musk, let's just say that.
Got it.
He basically says that the public image of Musk, the one everyone sees, is totally different from what's really going on.
Okay, so we've got articles, accusations. We've got one of the most famous guys on the planet.
Yeah.
Where do we even start with all this?
Well, Abramson starts by looking at two things side by side. On the one hand, you have this popular idea of Musk as this visionary, like almost a savior, someone who's going to use technology to save humanity.
Yeah.
Then on the other hand, you have these accusations of a whole pattern of lies and manipulation going all the way back to when he was first starting out as an entrepreneur.
That's right, because for a lot of people, Musk equals innovation, right? PayPal, Tesla, SpaceX, even Neuralink.
Totally.
He's always presented as like this almost superhuman genius.
Yeah.
The guy who's going to solve climate change, get us to Mars, even hook our brains up to AI.
Yeah, and Abramson digs into Musk's past. He points out some things that don't exactly make Musk look good.
Like what?
Well, for example, there are these stories about physical fights between Musk and his brother at their first company, Zip2. There are also claims that the whole idea for Zip2 was actually stolen.
Oh, wow.
And that Musk lied about his immigration status to get funding.
That's some serious stuff.
Yeah, it is.
But do these things from his past really matter now? I mean, those were years ago.
That's what Abramson is getting at, though. He's saying that this is a pattern of behavior.
Okay.
That Musk has always used these kinds of tricks to get what he wants.
Interesting.
He even goes as far as saying that Musk might have faked being good at video games to make himself look better.
Wait a minute. Faking video game skills?
Yeah.
How does that even fit into all of this?
It might seem small, but Abramson uses it to make a bigger point.
Okay.
He's saying that Musk is willing to manipulate how people see him.
Interesting.
Even in little things like video games.
Okay.
So if he'll do that for something small, what else might he be willing to manipulate? He's also questioning some of the stuff about Neuralink's progress, saying that Musk might be exaggerating what it can actually do.
So what you're saying is Abramson thinks this whole savior image is basically a made-up front, and that Musk is actually more interested in his own success than helping everyone else.
Right.
What evidence does he have besides those old stories?
Well, Abramson talks about how Musk is always pushing for more people to be born. It's called pronatalism, right?
Right.
And on the surface, it seems like he's genuinely worried about the world's population going down.
Yeah.
But Abramson thinks there might be other reasons behind it.
Like what?
He thinks that Musk isn't really worried about the global population, but about having enough customers and workers for his own companies.
So more babies mean more people to buy Teslas, more people to go to Mars with SpaceX, more brains to plug into Neuralink. It all ties together.
Exactly. Abramson also says that having a bigger workforce is good for Musk.
Okay.
Because it could make it harder for workers to fight for their rights and form unions. He even says that Musk's whole pronatalism thing could be a way to push women out of their jobs and back into more traditional roles.
Wow, that's a pretty serious accusation.
Yeah, it is.
But is Abramson saying that Musk is actually trying to create a bad future? I mean, a dystopia?
Well, he's saying that Musk's vision of the future, even though it's often presented as this perfect utopia, could actually lead to a really messed up situation where the rich just keep getting richer.
Okay.
And the poor are left even further behind.
So we've got these claims of fraud, a possible self-serving reason for wanting more babies. It's painting a pretty disturbing picture.
Yeah.
Is there more to this dystopia idea that Abramson is talking about?
Yeah, and this is where it gets even more interesting. Abramson brings in this other guy, Curtis Yarvin, and his ideas.
Yarvin. That name rings a bell.
Yeah.
Remind me who he is again.
He's this, pretty extreme right-wing thinker.
Okay.
His ideas have become pretty popular with certain tech guys, including Peter Thiel, who was close to Musk.
Okay, yeah, I remember now. So what does Yarvin have to do with all of this?
Well, Yarvin has this really creepy vision for the future.
Oh.
He talks about something called virtualizing people who aren't seen as useful to society.
What does that even mean?
Basically trapping them in a virtual world.
Whoa.
It sounds like something out of a movie, right?
Straight out of the Matrix.
But Abramson points out that some other people in tech, like Mark Andreessen, have said things that sound similar.
Really?
They talk about technology being the only way to solve problems like too many people and not enough resources.
Hold on, are we talking about actually putting people into virtual prisons?
Yeah, it's a pretty disturbing thought.
It is.
And Abramson connects this back to Musk by saying that maybe Musk's plans for colonizing Mars and building super smart AI could actually line up with what Yarvin wants.
You think he's saying Musk is going to enslave or eliminate a bunch of people?
He doesn't say that directly, but he is asking a question. Given the things Musk is working on and who he hangs out with, could that kind of scary scenario actually happen?
It's definitely something to think about, especially with Musk's growing influence in politics.
Right.
Buying Twitter, his connections to the Trump administration. That's a lot of power for one person to have.
It is.
And now with him being in charge of a social media platform, Abramson is even more worried.
He points out how Musk can mess with Twitter's algorithms to make certain opinions seem more popular.
I see.
And how he's willing to block information that he doesn't like. Like that whole thing with the J.D. Vance dossier.
Yeah, I remember that.
It felt like he was trying to control what people were seeing.
Right.
Abramson thinks that these kinds of actions, plus Musk's support for far-right people, show that he might be trying to push America towards becoming more authoritarian.
So let me get this straight. We started with claims of fraud and a selfish reason for wanting more people to be born. Now we're talking about a possible future where some people are trapped in virtual prisons.
Right.
All orchestrated by Musk and his tech buddies.
Basically.
It's a lot to take in.
Yeah, it is.
It's a lot to take in.
One thing that really stands out to me is how Abramson links all of Musk's actions to this bigger idea, this whole philosophy. He calls it test realism.
You've mentioned test realism a few times.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it sounds like something someone just made up.
Well, it is kind of a word Abramson created.
Okay.
But it describes this shared way of thinking among Musk, Thiel, and some other big tech guys.
Okay.
They believe that technology can basically fix every problem humanity has.
Oh, I see.
It's like super techno-optimism, but it kind of ignores the real social and ethical stuff that comes with all this new technology.
So instead of actually tackling climate change by cutting emissions, they'd rather just figure out how to live on Mars.
Exactly.
And instead of dealing with inequality, they'd rather pump everyone full of AI and brain implants.
Right. It's like they think tech can just magically solve everything wrong with society.
Sure, technology can do a lot of good, but like you said, there are downsides too.
Yeah, for sure.
Abramson is saying that this whole test realism thing, if it goes too far, could actually make human life seem less valuable.
Right, like a sort of techno-eugenics, where if you can't keep up with the latest technology,
you're just left behind.
You're left behind, or even worse.
That's a pretty scary thought.
It is.
And it makes you think, if these tech guys really believe that technology is the answer to everything, what does that mean for the rest of us who don't necessarily agree with them?
That's one of the most unsettling parts of what Abramson is saying.
Yeah.
He's suggesting that people like Musk and Thiel, with all their money and power, are shaping the future to fit what they want. Maybe they're even creating a world that only benefits them while ignoring everyone else's needs.
Right. And this whole thing gets even more worrisome when you think about Musk's thing about having more babies.
His pronatalism.
Yeah. You're right. Abramson links that directly to all this, saying that Musk doesn't just want more people for economic reasons.
Yeah.
He wants more people he considers genetically superior, people who can do well in this tech-driven future.
Exactly.
It's like a messed up version of eugenics where some traits are seen as good and others are bad.
Yeah, it's a pretty disturbing idea.
So in this potential future, it's not just about being rich or having status.
Right.
Your genes could determine your whole place in society.
It's possible.
And if you don't measure up, maybe you end up in one of those virtual prisons Yarvin talked about.
Right.
Considered unproductive and basically thrown away.
That's the fear.
It's a disturbing thought, and Abramson says, this kind of thinking is already happening.
Yeah.
The way these tech elites talk about immigration and social programs, it's like they only see people as economic units.
Yeah, it's like they're saying that the only people who matter are the ones who are productive and valuable to the economy.
And everyone else is just a burden. That's a pretty messed up way to look at the world, reducing people to just cogs in a machine.
Yeah, it's dehumanizing.
And it's even more scary when you consider how much political power Musk has.
Right.
If he can control what people think and influence policies, could you actually make this dystopian future real?
That's the big question Abramson leaves us with.
He doesn't really give us any answers, does he?
Not exactly.
But he's definitely telling us to be aware of the dangers of putting so much power in the hands of a few people.
Yeah.
Especially people with such extreme and potentially harmful views. So we've been talking about this pretty dark vision of the future, the one Abramson lays out.
Yeah.
Where technology isn't used to help everyone, but to make things even more unfair.
Right.
And to give a small group of people all the control.
Exactly.
It's a lot to think about.
It is.
But besides being aware of this and doing what we can individually, is there anything we can do together?
Yeah.
To fight back against this and try to make a future that's more fair for everybody?
You're right. It can feel like a huge problem.
It does.
But when you look back in history, you see that when people come together and demand change, it can really make a difference.
Oh.
Think about the civil rights movement.
Right.
The fight for workers' rights, the struggle for women to vote.
Yeah.
Those were all movements led by regular people who wanted a better world, and in the end, they made things better for everyone.
Those are definitely inspiring examples.
Yeah.
But those were huge movements that took a long time to achieve their goals.
It's true.
What can we do right now to address the things Abramson is worried about with people like Elon Musk?
Yeah.
And the possibility that technology could be used in the wrong way?
One important thing is to push for strong rules and regulations about new technologies.
Okay.
We need to make sure that things like artificial intelligence, genetic engineering, even those algorithms on social media are developed and used in a responsible way with protections in place.
So you're talking about things like stricter government oversight, maybe some ethical guidelines for these new technologies? We need to make sure these powerful tools help everyone, not just a select few.
That's the idea.
And it's not just about the government, right? We also need to hold companies accountable for what they do.
Absolutely.
We can choose to support companies that do things the right way, that care about ethics and privacy and social responsibility. And we can avoid the ones that don't.
Exactly.
It's like voting with our wallets, right?
Right.
But I'm sure people like Musk would say that all these rules will just slow down progress.
Oh, for sure. You'll hear that argument.
Yeah.
But when you look back, you actually see that having some smart regulations can help innovation.
Really?
It levels the playing field for everyone and stops companies from doing reckless things that could hurt people or the planet.
That makes sense.
Think about the rules for the pharmaceutical industry.
Right.
We want new medicines, but we also want to know they're safe and effective.
Of course.
It's a balance.
So it's the same with these new technologies.
Yeah.
It's about finding that balance between progress and making sure nobody gets hurt.
Exactly.
And that's where people being informed and engaged really matters, right?
Absolutely.
We need to learn about these issues, talk about them, and make our voices heard.
Yes.
Whether it's through voting, contacting our politicians, or joining groups that are trying to make a difference.
Right. There are a lot of ways we can all play a part in shaping the future we want.
And it's not just about politics either, is it?
Yeah.
We talked before about how important it is to be media literate.
Yeah.
And to think critically about what we see and hear.
Super important.
How can we use those skills in our everyday lives to fight back against all the misinformation out there?
Right. Well, it's really about being smart about the information we're consuming, especially with so much of it flying around these days.
Okay.
We have to be aware of our own biases, question what we believe, and actively look for different viewpoints.
It's easy to get trapped in those online echo chambers where everyone agrees with you.
It is. It's really easy.
But that doesn't give you a very accurate view of the world, does it?
It doesn't. And it takes effort to break out of those bubbles and actually have real conversations with people who think differently.
Right.
But it's important.
So it starts with being more critical of what we see online. Not just believing everything we read, but really checking the sources and considering other points of view.
Exactly. It's about being an active participant in this whole information world, not just passively taking it all in. And it's about remembering that even people who seem really trustworthy, like Elon Musk, have their own biases and things they're trying to achieve.
So it all comes back to that idea of being careful. of not just accepting the stories we're told,
Yeah.
but really looking deeper, asking questions, and making sure those in power are held accountable.
That's it. And in the end, I think it's about remembering that we have the power to make choices.
Right.
We're not just along for the ride when it comes to technology. We can help decide where it goes. It might not be easy, and there will be bumps along the way. But if we work together,
Yeah.
we can create a future where technology helps everyone, not just a few.
That's a great point to end on. And thank you for joining us for this deep dive into Elon Musk, his goals, and what could happen if technology isn't used carefully.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It's been a fascinating conversation, even if it was a little unsettling at times.
It was.
But hey, that's what deep dives are all about, right?
Absolutely.
Thanks for listening, everyone. And until next time, stay curious, stay engaged, and keep those critical thinking skills sharp.